Hey guys, ACM here. It is now less than 24 hours until Blizzcon and the classic demo. Finally, I just want to make a video talking about some of the things that I'm looking forward to checking out in the demo that may or may not work like they did back in vanilla. I think we will see some changes when it comes to the UI and general quality of life improvements. For example, we have already seen the auto loot feature being in the UI. Before I go over my topics, I would like to point out that I am #no changes, but I also understand that that's close to impossible because of the new client and infrastructure, and I'm okay with that, as long as they don't touch any of the fundamentals about the game such as balance or itemizations. Alright, let's get into my topics. Mob HP. So, first off, one of the things you couldn't do in vanilla is see how much HP or mana an enemy had. You could only see how much they had in percent. There were some popular add-ons back in vanilla which would calculate an enemy's hit points from your attacks on it and display an educated guess, but it was never perfect and did not show until you had already attacked, so you didn't know beforehand if a monster was really hard or not based on their HP. But I think this will change in Classic, and I think this will be a baseline feature. Since we're using the new client, I think that they will actually add this, so you will always be able to see how much HP and mana monsters have, like this. The next thing I would like to talk about, similar to Mob HP, is another thing that didn't exist in the vanilla UI, and it was cast bars. Yes, I have always wondered why this wasn't in a feature in Classic, since it's such important to know what your enemy is doing. What are they casting? Are they casting a fireball? Are they casting a scourge? Are they casting a pyroblast? Is that warlock casting a fear or a shadow bolt? I don't know. Without a cast bar you wouldn't know because the animation is the same. And since this is such an important thing, I actually think they will add this as well into the basic UI for Classic, because I think there's going to be a huge outcry otherwise. And the next thing, we have movable UI. Continuing on the UI track, what about being able to move your UI around? This was not possible in vanilla either without add-ons like Move Anything, and it was very popular back in the day. In retail, as you can see here on the left side, this is possible by within the basic UI you can unlock your frames and move them around, but in vanilla you were forced to have an add-on. Next thing is camera distance. Camera distance, how far you are able to zoom out from your character, have decreased a lot since vanilla actually. In vanilla you could do quite a lot with macros and scripts to get you quite far back. I have a screenshot here from vanilla, and if I move to this, you have one from retail right now. Maybe this is not the best screenshot to view this, but at least you can, if I move this around, you can see that there is at least a bit of a difference. And after some of the UI improvements here, I would like to go over to some more mage specific things. And the first thing I would like to talk about is arcane concentration. Now this talent is highly debated one in the private service scene, and it seems hard to pinpoint how exactly it worked back in vanilla. There's what I have found out to be 3 different versions of this talent and how it might work in Classic. So the first version I have is what I call the boring version. The boring version is probably what most people think this talent does, and it states that Arcane Concentration only has 1 chance to proc per spell you cast, and it will only proc as soon as you cast the spell and spend the mana. And it doesn't matter how many targets you hit or if the spell is resisted, it will always have a flat 10% chance to get a proc, assuming you have a 5 out of 5 talents spect. This is probably what most people think is the correct way, and if you look at all the videos of mages, AoE grinding and raiding and stuff, you can see that most of the time, or basically all the time, they only get arcane concentration procs at the beginning of after the spell cast and never during like a channeled spell, for example. But this is not 100% proof in my opinion, because we don't know how their talents look like, or maybe they're just unlucky in these videos with the procs. So the next one I have here, the next version, is the Arcane Mage viable version. Now this is a bit more fun. This version is currently what the most popular vanilla private server is using at the moment, and this is the version that I would prefer. This version works the same way as the boring version, except for arcane missiles. Arcane missiles is special since it shoots 5 missiles during it's channeled, but every missile counts as a separate spell because every missile can hit, resist or crit individually. So each missile can proc arcane concentration on its own. And this is really good for a mage, because it would solve a lot of mana problems if you're spamming arcane missiles a lot. And this might actually make arcane mages viable in raids, because one of the bigger problems is the mana efficiency of arcane. And one of the sources to make this that states that this might actually be how it works is the patch note for 3.0.8, where this states this spell now only has one chance to trigger arcane concentration. So they nerfed or removed this possibility in this patch. So that would probably mean that it worked before this patch, maybe. So that's the proof I have for this theory, this version. And the next version is the completely overpoweredly broken version. Now this was a bit of an overstatement, you might think, but no, it is not, and let me tell you why. This version of arcane concentration allows you to proc it with every single separate instance of direct damage that you deal. Meaning that if you cast Blizzard on a pack of, let's say, 10 mobs, you will get an almost 100% certainty to proc arcane concentration during your Blizzard, because you hit 10 mobs like 10 times. So that will be a very high chance to proc, and it would also be very easy to get it to proc on only a few monsters or one mob, because you can just down rank to a very cheap spell until you get a proc, and then you can start using your expensive spells free, and you can just keep this going forever. And this would just completely make AoE grinding broken. You would have zero downtime. I don't know, this would just be completely bonkers. And if this would ever be implemented in Classic, which I don't think it will be, I would actually be a strong voice against this, even though I'm playing a mage myself. This is just too good, too broken. And the next topic I have is Arcane Missiles. So Arcane Missiles is kind of a funky wonky spell, kind of buggy in the old vanilla client. When you shoot Arcane Missiles, it's kind of lagging, I could say, because the missiles don't actually start shooting until like after 1/3 of the cast has already been done, 1/3 of the channel. And when you finish the channel, you haven't actually shoot all your missiles. So one missile will just shoot off instantly after the channel is done, because you only have time to shoot 4 missiles since you start so late. So that's kind of weird. Hopefully they will fix that, because I know Arcane Missiles worked better in later expansions. And one other thing with Arcane Missiles is the aggro. When you aggro mobs, so if you shoot Arcane Missiles on a mob in vanilla, the mob will actually aggro you before your missiles have hit them. So as soon as you press Arcane Missiles and start to channel, even though the missiles haven't even started to fly towards the mob will aggro you and start running towards you, which is really weird, because no other spell in the game works like that. It's like you will shoot a frostbolt, and as soon as you press the frostbolt starts the 2-second cast or 2.5-second cast, the mob will run towards you. That would be insanely weird. So I really hope that is gonna work as intended in the new classic client. That would be amazing. So that's the topics I had to talk about today, and I am really hyped for this year's Blizzcon. I can't wait to play the demo. I will be streaming over at Twitch, so if you want to watch me check these things live, you can find the links to my Twitch here or also down in the description. And if you have any thoughts or questions about the topics I talked about today, don't hesitate to leave a comment, or if you're interested in more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Arcane Mage out, see you next time.